Charlotte Leslie.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have to say I've actually changed my speech and written it on the benches while I've been listening to the debate. I was going to talk about the free school bid in Bristol and my hope that my local council was going to give parents what they wanted and all through school. And I was going to make a plea to the front bench to have a look at an idea I had for a trigger for an assessment of some kind of special needs after a certain number of exclusions from, of children to see if something was wrong with the way they'd been assessed. But I'm not going to do any of that, because throughout the debate, something else has been right at the heart of what's gone on, and it's something I'd like to address. And it's a thing about appearance versus reality. The Honourable Member for Huddersfield talked about ideology and appearance and the importance of evidence, and I couldn't agree with him more. And I know that members opposite are concerned about social mobility, as we on these benches are. And I saw their bleak faces when the Secretary of State illustrated the awful situation facing children on free school meals and the lack of opportunity that they have in comparison to their richer counterparts. And I know they're concerned. And so the question we have to ask is, how do we deal with this? And in asking that question, we can't shy away from things that may not be ideologically what we quite like to deal with. And that's why the international league tables are so important, because there is a tendency to get caught up in a self-referential bubble of success, of exam results getting ever better. Now, our young people are always working hard, and I believe that the cohort of young people we have in the country today are every bit as good as those we had in the 1950s. But that is not the point. The point is, what is the objective reality about the qualifications that we are offering those young people? And we have to look at those measures in order to work out what's going on, and then what we can do about it. So I'll rehearse the statistics again, and I understand that statistics always have wriggle room, but I don't think you can argue with the general thrust of these statistics from the OECD PISA results. 4th to 16th in science, 7th to 25th in literacy, 8th to 28th in maths, and I must say thank you very much to my honourable friend from the Isle of Wight for your very brilliant breakdown of what those figures mean and their background. And the worst thing about this is that it's the poorest that suffer. And you've got to look at why the poorest suffer. And this is why I think the English baccalaureate idea is so interesting and so crucial. Because the fact of the matter is the poorest suffer in the curriculum. The evidence is overwhelming that if you go to a state school in a deprived area, you do not have access to the kind of academic subjects that you go to if you go to a state school in a better off area or if you go to a private school. And the reason for this is that struggling schools have perverse incentives to put their pupils through qualifications that lead to equivalence, so that they look good on the league tables. And you can't blame them for that. It's very obvious why they do it. The English baccalaureate is an attempt to offset that perverse incentive.
Did the honourable friend give way?
I would gladly give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. And on that very point, would she agree with me that the fact that only 4% of those currently receiving free school meals would apparently qualify for an English baccalaureate at the moment really illustrates the point she is making?
Absolutely. My honourable friend anticipates my point, and the English baccalaureate shines a cold and very difficult light of reality on what's actually going on. And I'm going to ask a question that you may expect to come from the Labour benches. And it's this. Why is it that because I went to a private school, why is it I was able to study Latin and a whole range of academic subjects, and friends of mine who didn't go to private schools were not? And when I applied for very difficult and competitive jobs in TV, I was told time and time again that on my CV, Latin looked interesting, and they pulled it out and had a look. Now, why was I given that opportunity, and my friends at state schools were not? I don't think that's fair. So I do not make any apology for a system which enables people from less well-off schools to study academic subjects, because it's resetting a balance. It's not either academic subjects or vocational subjects, it's both. It's really very simple. And if you look at the other objective measures of what's going on, the universities have courses which they value. Now, I have a concern that our schools, in their bid to look good on the league tables, are pushing our children through courses that the universities don't value as much. And if you look at the statistics, only 1% of children on free school meals are going to Russell Group universities. Now, that's not because children on free school meals are any less able than children not on free school meals. It's because we've got something wrong. And I'd just like to run past you a few scenarios that I've come across just to give colour to what I'm saying in the chamber here. Firstly, it's a boy in my constituency who went to a school in one of my more deprived wards who was prevented from taking physics. He was an incredibly bright chap and he wanted to do physics and he was prevented from taking physics. That was awful. Secondly, it's the head of the same school who took over that school who recently said to me how despairing he was that he had bright students who had been told that they would only do vocational courses. Now, vocational is equally as important as academic. Someone had to build the building we're in now. Obviously it's as important, but that does not mean that academically able children should not be able to pursue their course in life as well. And thirdly, we haven't even got the vocational right, even the name. I don't even like the name vocational, because a vocation is a way in which you do something. You can have a vocation to be a brain surgeon, you can have a vocation to be a plumber, even an MP. So in a sense, even the word vocational that has slipped into the political language is a euphemism for manual, practical, technical skills and crafts. Absolutely. Well, is it? Well, I'm pleased I'm in agreement with him. It bodes well. You've ruined my flow. And just as an illustration of that, I remember talking to a young offender who's in a Young Offenders Institute, and I asked him how he ended up there, and I was in a way expecting him just to be a bad sort, and he wasn't. He said, I was really interested in electronics. I wanted to be an electrician, but every time I thought I was going to do something practical about electronics, they gave me paper about it. He said, I can't do the paper, I can do the thing. And that is how we have failed for 13 years and more, a whole generation of people whose skills lie in the practical and technical. So, I could go on about how restoring discipline on our schools will help those on free school meals the most and how discipline problems are highest in those schools in deprived areas, but I won't. I'll just finish with a plea, because I know the benches opposite are as concerned as we are about this, and it's just to say we can't afford the luxury anymore of well-meaning idealism, and we can't afford to refuse to face difficult realities, because the reality that we're refusing to face is the reality that faces children, our poorest children, across our country every day and for the rest of their lives. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.